Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the B Show. My name is RGX of HCW. Apologies for missing last week, I was on holiday, but we're back, and good news is the B Show has been confirmed as a new ongoing series. So, with that out of the way, I'm going to hand it right over to DP, who's going to cover Rampage for us. Take it away, DP.
Hello, this is Past DP here, and I am bringing to you the Rampage review from September 16th, 2022. Hopefully. That is the right year. Anyway, we move into the matches itself. As usual, there's nothing beforehand, so we go straight into the first match of the night, which was between Darby Allin and Matt Hardy. As far as I'm aware, this match had next to no build, so that's a common theme we're building now with Rampage, where there's no build for these things. This is a very standard Darby Allin match. It's nice to see Matt Hardy going at a faster pace than what we're used to seeing of him in AEW. But yeah, the ending of the match comes when Hardy goes for a moonsault but misses. Gets co-rated for 2, and then after that, Darby does his pin, that like cross-legged pin thing called the Last Supper, which is some 3 count. So Darby wins. Following on from this match, we get the House of Black. They come out and they attack Hardy. They basically want a match against Darby and Sting. So that's confirmed. We'll be getting Darby and Sting versus Brody and Buddy. Thoughts on the match? Other than it being sort of out of nowhere, it was a decent match that served a purpose. It showed Matt Hardy on your screen. Showed that he can still go to a semi faster pace. Meanwhile, Darby gets an important win because he sort of needs it. But yeah, that was it really. There wasn't much else for that match. Yeah, we move on. So next up we have a promo from Claudio Castagnoli. He comes out with Wheeler Yuta, has a chat with the crowd basically. Just says how the Blackpool Combat Club represents a new symbol of excellence. He mentions how Yuta lost the title last week to Garcia, the pure title that is, to Garcia, but you learned the most from your losses. He then says that he defended his title, the world title, against Dax Harwood, who was one of the greatest opponents he's ever faced. He then mentions next week, so that'll be this week coming, between the match between Moxley and Danielson, and says how it'll be just a tough time for the club, but you know they'll get through it because that's what they do. They are fighters. They fight. He says that they will have 2 world champions in their ranks because himself and Moxley or Danielson. But before you finish that thought, he's interrupted by Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho talks about the JAS, about how they've had a great week, and that he wants to fight for a world title because he lost to Danielson. He wants to fight for the Ring of Honor world title. He basically just says that he wants the 8th title because he's a 7-time world champion, so he wants to go for the 8th title. Challenges Claudio. Claudio accepts. Bada boom, as confirmed. We move on to the next match of the night, which was a match between Penelope Ford and Willow Nightingale. Kip Sabian is with Penelope, as usual, with his box. Again, this came out of nowhere, the match. It was just sort of there. And it was a good match. Both women very energetic, very sprightly, and very gonna do what they can to get the win. But the ending of the match comes with Penelope kicking Willow in the face and hitting her with the stroke to then set up a Muta lock, which gets the tap out victory for Ford. My thoughts on this match, it was very similar to the Matt Hardy Darby Allin match. It was average. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't exceptional, or even had really a chance to stand out and be its own thing. It just sort of was there. But it's good to see AEW pushing forward. But at the same time, seeing Willow lose is kind of depressing. Genuinely one of the happiest people you could ever see, and she's just losing. But I'm sure her time will come eventually. I hope so. Yeah. Anyway, we are confirmed that Hangman Page is going to be in the Golden Ticket Battle Royal. The winner of which will get a future world title shot. La Faction Ingolabile, they come in, they just glare and then shout, and that's pretty much it. The next match of the night was match of the night. We have Ethan Page taking on Danhausen. Yeah. Ethan Page wins with the Ego's Edge. That's pretty much it. Danhausen tries to curse Ethan, but doesn't work. And we got the Ego's Edge for the win. That's about it. We get a segment between Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. Starks is really heated and just tells Hobbs to figure out everything that's going to happen to him because Hobbs now has his undivided attention. So they'll have a match next week, which should be very good. Hopefully. So now we move on to the main event. Yeah, we're already at the main event. Between the for the Ring of Honor TV title, Samoa Joe defends against Josh Woods. I'm not too sure what the story is on this because I just forget all this. But I believe Joe is fighting Sterling's crew. So he fought Nice, beat Nice, tried to choke out Sterling, I think it was, and Josh Woods saved him. So for that reason, Woods is getting a title shot against Joe. I think. Thumbs up. But yeah, this was the best match of the night, but that's not saying much. It was, I rated it only slightly better, but yeah, this is a very technical sort of like a catch style sort of match to begin with. So we get a lot of working holds and submission holds, and but eventually we go into the actual the bulk of the match, actual like meat of the match, where we get the forearm exchange between two of them. We then go to the outside. We then get after a ad break. We get Joe getting a 2 count after a roll up. He tries to look into the Coquina clutch, but he can't do because of Tony's getting Joe's arm, like snapping it across the top rope. Early in the match, Joe hits a backsplash for 2, but he's selling his arm. Nice and Sterling offer distractions so Woods can get out of pins. We get a knee to the face from Woods, which takes Joe out temporarily, and a pin from another knee, gets only 2 from Woods. We get a rock bottom / Uranagi thing from Joe, which gets a 2, but then that's followed up by a muscle buster from Joe to get the pinfall victory. It felt more like a Ring of Honor style match, which is good to see because Joe deservedly deserves a lot more. So it's good to see him coming out into his own and he's doing his own thing. And the TV title will hopefully elevate that, or he'll elevate the title, because right now it doesn't seem to have a lot of that. The opponents Joe is facing, it didn't help that Joe was away for a while before coming back, so hopefully Joe can do something with the title, and from there we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I personally have hopes for this title. Joe is a fantastic wrestler. I just want to see him in bigger feuds with higher names. No offense, but not Tony Nese and Mark Sterling. But either way, post-match, we get a beatdown. So, back to the usual Rampage. We get a beatdown from Sterling, Nese, and Woods. But after about, a few seconds, we get Wardlow coming out. He makes a save on Joe. Teases a powerbomb on Sterling, but Sterling is saved by, I think it was Nese. And then we get a little stare down between Wardlow and Joe. And then that ends the show with them basically just like hitting their belts together and they celebrate. Yeah. I mean, we're either going to go with the route of we might get Wardlow Joe, or they might team together Ward Joe, or I don't know. I think it's been confirmed for next week. We're getting a tag match, so we're getting Wardlow and Joe against Woods and Sterling. Cool, I guess. Just give me Wardlow and Joe. Like, I don't care. I don't care if it's both titles or not. Just give me the match. I want Wardlow Joe. You're taking two what I want to see fight and putting them against two other people that I don't want to see them fight. But yeah, it's fine. We'll get there when we get there. Hopefully the plan is Wardlow Joe, but we'll see. But yes, that was AEW Rampage. Very average show, very middle of the road. It was there to be there, sort of thing. I'm not sure what's going on with Rampage, because it's in this weird sort of purgatory or limbo where it's sort of just it's there and you're booking things for the sake of booking things, but they've got no end goal. So let me know if you think I'm wrong on that, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it anyway. But yeah, I'll pass over to RGX in the future. Enjoy, RGX.
Thanks very much, DP. Good review as always. So, let's get into NXT. Obviously, last week was pretty huge in terms of Solo Sikoa returning to NXT and capturing the North American title. And of course, the reveal of the new/old NXT black and gold logo, or white and gold logo as it is now. But yeah, so we get a recap of last week's episode, being the 1 year anniversary of 2.0. The logo may have changed, but we still have the Splatoon style background to the logo. And also noticed that the microphones still have the old logo as well. The show itself kicks off with Carmelo and Sikoa being pulled into Shawn Michaels' office, who decides that because of the nature of the impromptu match not being a sanctioned title match, he vacates the NXT North American Championship. It does console Sikoa, reminding him that he's been there and had to forfeit a championship himself before, but wishes him best on Raw, wishes him the best on SmackDown, and he knows he's going to kick ass in WWE. So that is, I believe, the last we'll see of Solo Sikoa in NXT. Now, instead of handing the belt right back to Carmelo Hayes, however, he announces that he will compete in a 5-way ladder match with his opponents to be determined in qualification matches over the next few weeks, and that will take place 6 weeks from now at Halloween Havoc. So they're going to hold the title up until then, so that's a long period to go without a secondary title. Bold, but good work for them. Now, we get match 2 of Axiom against Nathan Fraser in their best 2 out of 3 series. Axiom comes into this 1-0 up against Fraser. And the narrative is, of course, that Fraser has to win at all costs. Axiom doesn't need to win, but can put it to bed with a victory here. Although the match only went about 8 minutes, the amount they managed to fit in that time was almost too quick. There wasn't a lot of breathing room to let moves settle, but what they were doing in the ring was indeed impressive. But after Fraser picks up the victory with a beautiful superplex into his spinning neck breaker finish, we get the deciding match next week. Just before the commercial break, we get a promo from Alba Fire, basically saying to Mandy that she saw fear in her eyes last week, and she will be the one to take that title from her. And God, I hope so. It's been over a year. It's arguable that it's not achieved very much for NXT as a whole. I'm very much looking forward to an actual up-and-coming superstar holding that title instead of someone who decided to come back and, in my opinion, outlived their welcome. Mandy should be on the main roster. Now, after that, we get Toxic Attraction come in to distract Mandy from her obvious fear of having to face Alba Fire. And then we get them coming out, so Dolan and JC Jane versus Ivy Nile and Tatum Paxley. We get weird pacing with NXT, where the Toxic Attraction make their entrance. So then we get an advert. We get a Connor's Cure package. And then a good 2 or 3 minute Damon Kemp promo about his actions last week and the weeks prior before the opponents even come out. So Kemp explains that he was the one that took the bribe and not Roddy. But when Roddy threatened to show the evidence that had happened, he smashed the phone so nobody could see the evidence. Yet we're all watching it as he's speaking. And yeah, he's very proud of his actions and he's more than happy to face the Creed brothers, but he refuses to let it be 2-on-1. He's going to face both of them, but only one of them can be in the ring at the time, and the other one must be backstage. He then cut to Ivy Nile, who is really pissed that Damon's been revealed to be the one that betrayed the diamond mine. Even though she's known for a week at least, she acts like she's just found out. So she's already quite distracted when they come to the ring for their match with Toxic Attraction. It's a decent back and forth bout until Toxic Attraction pick up the clean win. After that, we get Gacy and the Dyad walking backstage before an ad break. And when they come back, we get a promo. They don't really say that much. It reminds me a lot of an early Wyatt family promo where it sounded cool, but they didn't actually say anything of substance. And the crux of it is that Gacy tells Grimes he made a big mistake in not accepting them and now faces the wrath of the schism. Instead of Grimes coming out to interrupt him, we get Inoue and Blade for an impromptu match with the Dyad. And it seems like they're both very much in the vein of Kofi or Montez. They don't have that power guy or smaller technical guy to off-balance them. They're both the high flyers, which can work. But there's not a great deal to distinguish them from each other. And it's sad to see what used to be the grizzled young vets getting dominated so much early on in the match. However, they do eventually turn it around. Becomes more back and forth before the dyad do a really nice sequence to a version of the big rig almost to pick up the win. We then get a recap of Quincy Elliott's debut last week. And I don't care what anyone says, I love the kid. I think he's going to do well. Or they're going to do well. Apologies. After that, we get Wendy Chu coming out for our match with Cora Jade. And here, yet again, weird pacing. Wendy Chu's clearly waiting in the ring while we get a 3-minute ad break. Raquel Gonzalez talking about Hispanic Heritage Month. Then a full 2.5-minute recap of the Meiko Satomura and Roxanne Perez match and how Cora attacked her post-match. All of this before Cora makes her entrance to the match. And while I'm still not a huge fan of Chu's character, I can't deny that she's pretty good in the ring. Cora also looks great and her offense is a lot more snug than it used to be. And Cora ends up picking up the win with a DDT after a very good back and forth match. Then, almost as quick as she came out, Lash Legend attacked Wendy Chu with a big boot. And a single big boot, then it cut to commercial again. So they didn't even linger on the shot, which was a bit weird. We never even got a chance for the commentators to speculate on why she did it. After the break, Braun Breaker is backstage being interviewed about who he thinks is going to win the number one contenders match between Tyler Bate and JD McDonough. Two guys he's already beaten clean, so I don't know why they're facing again. But he picks Tyler Bate because he had a banger with him and knows he can go. We then get an interview with a new roster member, Oro Mensah, who's from Ghana. He's going to be facing Grayson Waller for a place in the North American title match later on tonight. And from there, we get Carmelo Hayes backstage, hitting things and looking quite frustrated. And then as we come back from commercial break, he's out to the ring to cut a promo. Regardless of the fan vote and the results last week, he is the biggest star in NXT. And he wants everyone who had a factor in that match happening to get fired. Everyone from the referee to the ring announcer to the timekeeper. He then gets interrupted by Andre Chase of Chase U. Attempts several times to call it a teachable moment, and this leads to an impromptu tag match with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes against Chase U. Looking at Bodie, it is quite clear that he's got a lot of inspiration from Billy Gunn, and it looks more like Billy Gunn than the Ass Boys do. Andre Chase ends up catching Carmelo out of nowhere and picks up the win, which makes me think that Carmelo Hayes is actually going to start a kind of downward spiral angle on his way out of NXT, which he needs to go up to the main roster soon, especially if he doesn't win the North American title match at Halloween Havoc. We then get Gallus and Briggs Jensen backstage in the pub, which is really just a bit of the warehouse where they've got tankards. But with Wolfie having a pub in just outside Glasgow, he should be used to running a pub in a dodgy location. So it's decided that they're going to have a match next week that'll be contested under pub rules. Whether that is just going to be a bar fight or it's a game of pool where two shots don't carry and you only get one shot in the black, who knows. But it should still be good. We then get something that's not good in the form of Sanga against Von Wagner and Sheamus versus Gunther. This is not. I'm a big fan of big meaty men slapping meat, but not when they do it as badly as these two. Von Wagner sneaks out a victory, and that was it. We then get Wes Lee talking about the beatdown by Carmelo and Trick Williams last week. Says he was offered the chance to go straight into the match without qualifying, but he wants to qualify like everyone else, no special treatment. And then Channing backstage announces that it'll be Tony D'Angelo that will be facing next week in that qualifier. And speaking of qualifiers, we then get Grayson Waller against Mensa for their qualifying match. Again, weird pacing. Grayson's out first. We get a 3-minute ad break and a Grimes promo responding to Schism, telling them they'll shove them in a wood chipper and mulch them down to fuel that'll power his rocket to go to the moon. And then we finally get Mensa's debut entrance. The match kicks off. Decent back and forth. The new guy Mensa looks a decent hand. And out of nowhere, Apollo Crews comes out with his left eye bleeding, almost stigmata-like. That distracts Grayson Waller long enough for Oro Mensa to pick up the win with a wheel kick in the corner, which means he qualifies for the North American title match on his debut, which is quite impressive. We then get the Creed brothers backstage in the gym arguing who gets their hands on Damon Kemp first. It's kind of corny the way they're going, no, he did this to me, I should be first, to the point that it seems almost too scripted. But eventually they decide that Brutus is going to go first because of what they did to his face. Next out we get Braun Breaker, who's going to be on commentary, and brings out a wee boy who's been looked after as part of Connor's cure. We learn that his name's Landon the Conqueror, and I want him to be world champ one day. Heard it here first. Then get a vignette for a new star who's coming, Sol Ruka. Basically, to boil this one down, she surfs and she flips. She debuts next week. Then get the announcement that Grimes and Drew Gacy will face off next week, as well as Gallus, the confirmation that Gallus against Briggs and Jensen will happen in a pub rules match. And finally we have our main event of Tyler Bate versus JD McDonough. Braun adds as many ums and ahs as I am doing, which will tell you that's a lot. And it was maybe not a great idea exposing them and putting them on commentary like this, because the announcers did throw to him a lot and put a lot of pressure on him to fill dead air, which was maybe not the best call. The match itself is quite a fast-paced and hard-hitting affair. It actually leads to McDonough picking up the clean win over Bate, so we're going to get Braun versus McDonough again, it was a decent match, but yeah, it's not that interesting to me. But thank God, here comes someone to break that up as we get Ilya Dragunov making his return and comes out to stare both of them down. So hopefully that means it's a 3-way match and not just another one-on-one between Bate and McDonough. And that's your NXT. Wasn't bad this week. A couple really cool things on it. Decent quality wrestling throughout. Apart from the Sanga versus Waller match. Sanga versus Wagner match. So yeah, so that is your B-Show for this week. Please do all the usual YouTube stuff of like, comment, subscribe. Give us a follow on Twitter at the HCW Show. And feel free to join our Discord, which is linked in the description below. For now, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time.